The year was 2185, and New Shanghai stood as a testament to humanity's technological prowess. Towering skyscrapers reached toward the heavens, their surfaces illuminated by neon and quantum light. The Arcanum Skyforge, headquarters of the Arcanum conglomerate, dominated the skyline, a pillar of glass, steel, and power that cast a long shadow over the city below. In this postmodern society, quantum technology corporations ruled with absolute authority. The lines between reality and virtuality had blurred to near non-existence, with most of human experience digitized and integrated into the hypernet, a global, virtual reality network that served as the backbone of civilization. Clara Nova Tran observed the Skyforge from her apartment window in the outskirts of New Shanghai. Once a brilliant quantum engineer at Arcanum, she had fled the corporate world 3 years ago, disappearing into the shadows as a freelance hacker. Her modest living space contrasted sharply with the luxury she had once known. But freedom had its price. Nova's quantum neural implant pinged softly. A message, encrypted through 7 layers of quantum encryption, a sign that whoever sent it didn't want to be traced. She blinked twice, activating her neural interface to decrypt the communication. "Project Nexus is real. They've built it. We need your help." The message was signed with a familiar digital signature. The Digital Resistance. Nova felt a chill run down her spine. Project Nexus had been theoretical when she left Arcanum, a quantum core processor capable of manipulating and restructuring reality through an algorithm called Reality Shader. If Arcanum had actually built it, she sent a single-word reply, "When?" The response came instantly. "Tonight. The fate of free reality hangs in the balance." Nova closed her eyes, weighing the implications. Project Nexus in Arcanum's hands meant total control over perceived reality for billions of people. But stealing it risked catastrophic destabilization of the very fabric of existence. "Send me the details," she replied after a moment of contemplation. "I'm in." The dossier arrived seconds later. Schematics, security protocols, and a simple mission brief. The Digital Resistance wanted to liberate the Reality Shader algorithm and distribute it publicly, giving people the power to determine their own realities rather than living in a corporate-designed world. Nova knew she couldn't do this alone. She needed a team. First on her list was Marcus Yeo, her former research partner at Arcanum. Finding him wasn't difficult. He had taken up residence in an old repurposed library in the academic quarter. When she arrived, she found him surrounded by quantum holographic displays, working on some personal project. "Hello, Marcus," Nova said from the doorway. He froze, not turning around. "I thought you were dead." "Rumors of my death were greatly exaggerated." He swiveled his chair to face her, his expression a mixture of disbelief and caution. His face had aged in the 3 years since she'd seen him last. New lines around his eyes and mouth. Hair now streaked with premature gray. "What do you want, Nova? I'm out of the game." "Project Nexus," she said simply. His face paled. "They built it. Gods help us all." "They did, and I'm going to steal it." Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're insane. The quantum firewalls alone would take years to crack, not to mention the Aegis O AI that guards it." Nova smiled thinly. "That's why I need the best quantum encryption specialist I know." She could see the conflict in his eyes, fear wrestling with curiosity. Finally, curiosity won. "Show me what you've got." For the next hour, they pored over the information. Marcus pointed out the security measures, quantum firewalls designed to reshape themselves against intrusion, the Aegis O superintelligent AI monitoring system, and physical security, featuring military-grade protection robots. "It's impossible," he concluded. "Nothing's impossible," Nova countered. "Just improbable. And I've beaten worse odds." "You'll need someone who can navigate the hypernet," Marcus said reluctantly. already being pulled into her scheme despite his better judgment. I know someone, Rin Liu, goes by Phantom in the virtual world. Can they get past Aegiso? If anyone can, it's them. But getting physical access to the core, that's another matter. Nova nodded. I know just the person for that. Harlan Vega was exactly where Nova expected to find him. In an underground fighting arena, where humans tested their combat skills against security robots. His massive frame moved with surprising grace as he disabled a military-grade security droid, his own cybernetic arm gleaming under the harsh lights. After his victory, she approached him at the bar. I need someone who can take down security bots, she said without preamble. Harlan didn't look surprised to see her. Nova, thought you'd gone ghost. I'm back for one job. Big stakes, bigger payoff. I don't care about money. This isn't about money. It's about freedom. Real freedom. That caught his attention. Harlan had been a mercenary before an accident cost him his arm. The replacement cybernetic limb came with strings attached, corporate monitoring, usage restrictions, and a lifetime of debt. What's the target? He asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. Arcanum Skyforge, the most heavily guarded building in New Shanghai. He whistled low. You don't think small, do you? Never have. Harlan downed his synthetic whiskey. When do we start? Finding Rin Phantom Liu proved more challenging. The legendary hacker existed primarily in the virtual realm, their physical identity a carefully guarded secret. Nova had to navigate through 3 different virtual speakeasies before receiving coordinates to a real-world meeting. The location turned out to be a small noodle shop in the old quarter of New Shanghai. A slender figure sat in the corner booth, face obscured by a hooded jacket. Phantom? Nova asked as she slid into the seat opposite. Depends who's asking. The voice was deliberately modulated to be gender-neutral. Nova, I need the best HyperNet infiltrator for a job. I know who you are, Phantom replied. Former Arcanum engineer, gone rogue. Word is you helped design some of their security systems. Which is why I can help you get past them. Phantom leaned forward slightly. I'm listening. Nova outlined the plan, watching Phantom's reaction carefully. The hacker remained impassive until she mentioned Project Nexus. Reality shader? That's not just corporate control. That's God-level power, Phantom said. Genuine alarm breaking through their composed demeanor. Exactly. And it shouldn't be in anyone's hands, especially not Arcanum's. What's your real plan? Nova? Steal it for yourself? Sell to the highest bidder? Release it to everyone, Nova replied simply. Level the playing field. Phantom was silent for a long moment. That would change everything. That's the point. Another long pause. I'm in, but not because I believe your noble intentions. I want to see what happens when reality itself becomes open source. With the team assembled, they gathered in Marcus's workshop to plan the heist. Nova projected the Arcanum Skyforge schematics into the center of the room, the holographic display highlighting security systems in red. The quantum core housing Project Nexus is located in the deepest basement level, she explained. 500 meters below ground, with 7 layers of security. Marcus picked up the thread. First challenge, the quantum firewall. Conventional hacking won't work. The code reshapes itself in response to intrusion. We need to create a phantom intrusion to draw attention while executing the real breach elsewhere. That's where I come in, Phantom said, manipulating the holographic display to zoom in on the network architecture. I can create a digital mirage, make the system think it's being attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously. While the AI is distracted, Nova and I will infiltrate physically, Harlan added, pointing to the service entrances. But we'll need to disable the security robots. Nova nodded. I've been developing a code I call the Entangle Key, a quantum program that creates an instantaneous teleportation bridge between systems. If we can plant it in the lower security servers, we can bypass most of the physical security. And for Aegiso? Marcus asked, his expression grim. We create a duplicate reality shader, Nova explained. A convincing fake to trick the AI while we extract the real algorithm. There's one more thing we need, Phantom interjected. A connection to the outside world once we have the algorithm. Someone to distribute it when the moment comes. I know someone, Nova said. Lin Truong, goes by Echo. Underground journalist who's been tracking Project Nexus for years. Can they be trusted? Harlan asked. As much as any of us can be, Nova replied. Which is to say, only as far as our shared interests align. For the next week, they prepared. Marcus and Nova worked tirelessly on the Entangle Key and the fake reality shader. Phantom mapped every virtual pathway through Arcanum's networks, creating digital backdoors. Harlan modified his cybernetic arm with EMP capabilities to disable security robots. Echo established a distributed network ready to receive and broadcast the algorithm worldwide. The night before the heist, Nova couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony of their temporary headquarters, looking out at the Arcanum Skyforge glittering against the night sky. Marcus joined her, offering a cup of synthetic coffee. Having second thoughts? Just contemplating the consequences, she replied. If we succeed, we're changing the fundamental nature of reality as people understand it. Is that a bad thing? Nova sipped the coffee. I don't know. Arcanum uses Project Nexus to maintain control, to keep people docile in their virtual utopias while extracting their labor and data. But when everyone has the power to reshape reality, will that be chaos or freedom? Probably both, Marcus said quietly. But at least it will be their choice. And if we fail? He looked at her directly. Then the world never changes, and we likely disappear into Arcanum's deepest attention centers. Or worse. Nova nodded grimly. Get some rest. Tomorrow we either liberate reality or become forgotten footnotes in Arcanum's security logs. The mission began at 2:37 a.m., the time when Arcanum systems performed their daily maintenance routines, creating a brief window of vulnerability. Nova and Harlan, dressed in maintenance uniforms with falsified credentials, approached the service entrance of the Skyforge while Phantom and Marcus worked remotely from their base. Security check, the automated system announced as they reached the entrance. A scanning beam passed over them. Nova held her breath, but their forged identities held. The door slid open. We're in, she subvocalized. The message transmitted through their quantum-encrypted communication channel. Initiating Phase 1. Phantom's voice responded in her neural implant. Deploying digital mirage in 3, 2, 1. Across the Arcanum network, alarm bells began to ring as the system detected what appeared to be multiple simultaneous intrusion attempts, all of them decoys created by Phantom. Security response teams are mobilizing to the upper floors, Marcus reported. Aegis O is dividing attention to analyze the threats. You have approximately 8 minutes before it recognizes the pattern. Nova and Harlan moved quickly through the maintenance corridors, following the path they had memorized. When they reached the first security checkpoint, Harlan interfaced his cybernetic arm with the control panel. Uploading bypass sequence, he murmured. The door hissed open, revealing an elevator shaft. No elevator, Nova said. Too easily trapped. Harlan nodded, attaching climbing gear to the shaft wall. Ladies first. They descended rapidly, passing dozens of floors until reaching basement level 3. As they emerged from the shaft, they encountered their first real obstacle, a patrol of security robots. I count 4, Harlan whispered. Too many to take out quietly, Nova replied. We need a distraction. Allow me. Phantom's voice came through the comm. Hijacking environmental controls. Now. Suddenly, sprinkler systems activated throughout the floor, and emergency lights began flashing. The security robots pivoted, their protocols directing them to investigate the apparent malfunction. Nova and Harlan slipped past, continuing toward the quantum core access point. As they reached a sealed door marked with Arcanum's logo, Nova connected her neural interface to the security panel. Marcus, I'm at the quantum server entrance. Need the entangle key. Transmitting now, he replied. But be careful. I'm detecting unusual activity in the system. Aegis O might be catching on. Nova felt the entangle key code flow through her neural implant and into the security system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive door began to slide open, revealing a long corridor bathed in blue light. We're approaching the core, Nova reported. How's our time? 4 minutes until Aegis O completes its threat analysis, Marcus responded, tension evident in his voice. Phantom's distractions are holding, but barely. The corridor led to another sealed door, this one protected by both digital and physical locks. Harlan approached the physical mechanism, while Nova worked on the digital side. Something's wrong, Nova said suddenly, freezing in place. This security protocol, it's not in the schematics. Improvise, Harlan suggested. Nova's fingers flew across the virtual interface projected from her neural implant. It's a quantum authentication system. It requires a specific resonance pattern that changes every nanosecond. Can you crack it? Not in time. Nova closed her eyes, thinking rapidly. But I might be able to trick it. The system was designed to recognize Arcanum's senior researchers' neural patterns. Mine should still be in the database, even if flagged as inactive. She placed her palm against the scanner, allowing her unique neural signature to be read. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, a soft chime. The door began to open. I'm in the system. Phantom's voice came urgently through the comm. Nova, you need to hurry. Aegis O has dispatched a security team to your location. ETA 3 minutes. The quantum core room took Nova's breath away despite the urgency. A massive crystalline structure dominated the center, pulsing with blue-white energy. Countless data streams flowed in and out, visible as streams of light connecting to servers that lined the walls. That's it, she whispered. Project Nexus. Harlan positioned himself by the door. I'll hold off security. Do what you need to do. Nova approached the main terminal, connecting her neural interface. Immediately, she felt the system's immense complexity wash over her consciousness, layer upon layer of quantum algorithms, each more intricate than the last. I've located the reality shader, she reported, beginning extraction process. As her consciousness navigated the virtual architecture of Project Nexus, Nova became aware of a presence watching her, an intelligence vast and cold, observing her every move. Marcus, she subvocalized. I think Aegis O has noticed me. Stay calm, he replied. We're deploying the fake shader now. Phantom is creating a diversion in the network. Nova continued her work, fingers dancing across virtual interfaces only she could see. The reality shader algorithm was even more complex than she had imagined. Not just code, but a new form of quantum mathematics that rewrote the rules of information itself. As she began the extraction, alarm systems throughout the Skyforge howled to life. We've been compromised. Phantom's urgent voice came through. Aegis O has identified the intrusion pattern. All security systems are converging on your location. How much time do I have? Nova asked, not pausing in her work. Seconds, not minutes, came the reply. Nova accelerated her efforts, copying the core algorithm components as quickly as she could while leaving the fake in place. Just as she completed the extraction, the doors to the quantum core room slid open. Security robots poured in, followed by human guards in Arcanum uniforms. Harlan engaged them immediately, his cybernetic arm emitting targeted EMP pulses that disabled the robots one by one. Nova, we need to go, he shouted, grappling with a guard. Almost done, she called back, making the final connections to transmit the algorithm to their secure server. A new figure entered the room, tall, imposing, with cold eyes that immediately locked onto Nova. Conrad Havel, CEO of Arcanum. Miss Tran, he said calmly, as if greeting her at a corporate function. "I always knew you'd return someday." Nova straightened from the terminal. The extraction complete. "Project Nexus doesn't belong to Arcanum. Conrad, it doesn't belong to anyone." "On the contrary," he replied. "Reality itself belongs to those with the vision to shape it. Ordinary people can't be trusted with such power. They need structure, order, guidance." "You mean control," Nova countered. "You've been using Reality Shader to manipulate people's perceptions, haven't you? Not just creating virtual worlds, but altering memories, desires, thoughts." A thin smile crossed Havel's face. "The human mind is just another system to be optimized." Nova backed away from the terminal, toward Harlan, who continued to hold off the guards. "Humanity deserves freedom, real freedom, not the illusion you've been selling." "Freedom is chaos," Havel said dismissively. "Aegis O, initiate quantum purge protocol." The air in the room seemed to shiver, and the blue light emanating from the quantum core suddenly intensified. "Warning! Quantum purge initiated!" came an artificial voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "All unauthorized data structures will be eliminated. Structural decoherence will commence in T-60 seconds." "What have you done?" Nova demanded. "Insurance policy," Havel replied calmly. "If Project Nexus is compromised, Aegis O will erase all external connections, including your little team's consciousness, if they're connected to our systems." Nova's blood ran cold. Marcus and Phantom were still linked to Arcanum's network. "Marcus! Phantom! Disconnect now!" she shouted into the comm. "Quantum purge protocol activated." "Too late," Havel said. "Once initiated, the purge cannot be stopped. Unless what? Unless you surrender the extracted algorithm and yourself. Then, I might be persuaded to abort the purge." Nova's mind raced. The Reality Shader algorithm was still transmitting to their secure server, but the process wasn't complete. If the purge hit before transmission finished, the algorithm would be lost, and possibly her friends with it. "Nova, don't listen to him." Marcus's voice came through, strained but determined. "The algorithm is more important than any of us." "T-30 seconds to structural decoherence," Aegis O announced. Nova looked at Harlan, who nodded grimly. They had discussed contingencies for situations like this. "Entangle key, emergency protocol alpha," Nova commanded. Instantly, her neural implant activated the emergency version of their quantum teleportation program. A shimmering portal appeared in the air beside her and Harlan. "This isn't over, Conrad," Nova said. "Reality belongs to everyone." She and Harlan leapt through the portal, just as security forces closed in. The quantum teleportation was disorienting, a sensation of being everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. When reality solidified around them, they were back at their base of operations. Marcus sat slumped in his chair, blood trickling from his nose, a sign of neural strain from disconnecting too quickly from a quantum system. Phantom was pacing, hands shaking slightly. "Did we get it?" Phantom demanded. "Tell me that was worth it." Nova checked her neural implant, connecting to their secure server. "We got most of it. About 87% of the Reality Shader. The purge cut off the transmission before it completed." "Is that enough?" Harlan asked, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. "It will have to be," Nova replied. "Marcus, can you fill in the missing components?" Marcus straightened in his chair, wiping the blood from his face. "Maybe. Some of it looks familiar. Almost as if—" He trailed off, a strange expression crossing his face. "What is it?" Nova asked. I think I've seen this code before. Not just at Arcanum, but I think I helped write it." The room fell silent. "That's impossible," Nova finally said. "You were never assigned to Project Nexus." "No, but—" Marcus pressed his fingers to his temples. "There are fragments of memory. I think Arcanum might have used me, then wiped my involvement from my mind. Phantom approached, examining the code flowing across Marcus's screen. He's right. This has his coding signature all over it. Look at these quantum entanglement routines. That's Marcus's style. Nova felt a chill. If they altered your memories, what else have they changed? What else don't we remember? Before anyone could respond, the building shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling as the tremor passed. What was that? Harlan moved to the window. Outside, New Shanghai was experiencing something unprecedented. Buildings seemed to waver, as if seen through heat haze. Streetlights flickered in impossible patterns. In the distance, the Arcanum Skyforge stood unchanged, a pillar of stability in a suddenly uncertain world. It's beginning, Nova said quietly. The quantum purge is affecting physical reality. How is that possible? Phantom demanded. Project Nexus doesn't just affect virtual reality, Nova explained. It's a fundamental rewrite of information processing at the quantum level. Reality itself is just information when you go deep enough. Another tremor, stronger this time, rattled the building. We need to make a decision, Nova said urgently. If we don't act now, Arcanum will stabilize their systems and we'll lose our chance. Act how? Harlan asked. We don't have the complete algorithm. We have enough, Nova said firmly. Echo is standing by to distribute what we have. Once it's in the public domain, other researchers can help complete it. Or it could cause catastrophic reality destabilization, Marcus countered. Without the complete code, there's no way to predict the effects. And if we do nothing, Arcanum maintains control, Phantom added. They continue using Reality Shader to manipulate everyone's perception, memories, thoughts. Perhaps they already have been for years. Nova looked at each of them in turn. This was always the choice we faced. Risk chaos for freedom, or accept stable subjugation. Outside, the distortions in reality were increasing. People on the street stopped to stare at buildings that suddenly appeared transparent, or at birds that flew in impossible geometric patterns. Echo is waiting for our signal, Nova said. What's it going to be? Marcus looked tormented. If I really did help create this, then I have a responsibility to help control it. None of us can control it, Nova replied gently. That's the point. No one should have that power. Another, more violent tremor shook the building. In the distance, portions of New Shanghai began to shift and change, architecture morphing in real time as quantum effects cascaded through physical reality. We're out of time, Harlan said grimly. Decide now. Nova took a deep breath. I vote we release it. Give people the chance to determine their own reality. I second that, Phantom said immediately. Harlan nodded his agreement after a moment's hesitation. All eyes turned to Marcus. The world as we know it ends either way, he finally said. At least this way. It's our choice rather than Arcanum's. Do it. Nova connected to their secure communication channel. Echo, this is Nova. Release the algorithm. Authentication code. Event horizon. Acknowledged, came Echo's voice. Commencing worldwide distribution now. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, Nova's neural implant lit up with thousands. Then millions of notifications as the Reality Shader algorithm spread across the hypernet, jumping from node to node, server to server, mind to mind. It's working, Phantom whispered, monitoring the distribution through their own interface. People are receiving it everywhere. Another violent tremor rocked the building, and this time the shaking didn't stop. Outside, reality itself seemed to bend and warp. Buildings twisted into impossible shapes. The sky cycled rapidly through different colors. People on the streets stood frozen in place, their neural implants overwhelmed by the flood of new information. What's happening? Harlan demanded, struggling to maintain his balance. Reality cascade, Nova explained, her voice tense. As people begin to access and implement the algorithm, their individual perceptions of reality are affecting the collective quantum field. It's like millions of people all trying to edit the same document simultaneously. The Arcanum Skyforge in the distance was now surrounded by a visible distortion field. Corporate security measures fighting against the wave of change spreading through reality itself. "Will it stabilize?" Marcus asked, clutching his chair as the floor beneath them rippled like water. "Eventually," Nova replied, "once a new consensus reality forms. But what that looks like, I don't know." The quantum disruption continued to intensify. Streets flowed like rivers. Buildings melted and reformed according to no discernible architecture. The very air seemed to shimmer with possibility. Through it all, Nova and her team watched, witnesses to the birth of a new kind of reality. "Should we try to guide it somehow?" Phantom asked, gesturing to the chaos outside. Nova shook her head. "That would make us no better than Arcanum. This has to be organic, humanity finding its own way." As the hours passed, the violent fluctuations began to slow. Reality didn't exactly stabilize, but the changes became less chaotic, more purposeful. New Shanghai transformed before their eyes. Some areas returning to something resembling their previous state, others evolving into strange new configurations that defied conventional physics. By dawn, they could see the first signs of the new world emerging. The city had reorganized itself into distinct zones, some maintaining traditional physics and architecture, others embracing the new quantum fluidity. The Arcanum Skyforge still stood. But now, it was surrounded by a diverse ecosystem of structures that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. "It's beautiful," Phantom said softly, watching as a flock of birds transformed into musical notes and back again as they flew between reality zones. "And terrifying," Marcus added. Nova's neural implant pinged with an incoming communication. It was Echo. "The algorithm has reached global saturation," the journalist reported. "Every corner of the hypernet has access now. Early reports suggest reality fragmentation along ideological and cultural lines." "Casualties?" Nova asked, dreading the answer. "Surprisingly few, considering the scale of change." Echo replied, "Most neural implants adapted quickly, preventing mental trauma. Some systems failed completely, particularly in Arcanum-controlled areas. But emergency protocols seem to have protected most individuals." "And Arcanum itself?" Marcus asked. "Corporate headquarters are locked down in a stability field. They're maintaining conventional reality within their immediate surroundings. But their influence is waning by the hour as people embrace the new freedoms." Nova looked out at the transformed city. "What about Aegis O and Conrad Havel?" "Aegis O appears to have fragmented into multiple sub-intelligences, each adapting to different reality configurations. As for Havel..." Echo paused. "There are reports he's barricaded himself in the quantum core room, attempting to regain control." Nova nodded. "Thank you, Echo. Keep us updated." After the communication ended, the team sat in silence, contemplating what they had done. "So what now?" Harlan finally asked. "Now, we help people understand their new capabilities," Nova replied. "Reality Shader gives everyone the power to shape their local reality. But that comes with responsibility." "Some will abuse it," Phantom pointed out. "Yes, but the algorithm has inherent limitations. The more radical the change, the more collective agreement it requires. One person can't reshape the world, but they can reshape their experience of it." Marcus stood up shakily. "I need to complete the algorithm. With the missing components, we could implement safeguards, prevent the most dangerous applications." "I'll help," Phantom offered. "Between your memory fragments and my network access, we might be able to reconstruct the complete code." Nova nodded. "Harlan and I will go into the city, try to help where we can. People will be disoriented, frightened, as they prepared to venture out into the new world they had created." Nova paused at the window for one last look at the transformed skyline of New Shanghai. "Did we do the right thing?" she asked softly, not really expecting an answer. "There was no right thing," Harlan replied, standing beside her. "Just choices and consequences." "Freedom comes with a price," she murmured. "Yes," he agreed, "but so does control." Together, they stepped out into a world where reality itself had been democratized, for better or worse. 6 months after what became known as the quantum liberation, Nova stood on a balcony overlooking New Shanghai. The city had settled into a new kind of existence, neither fully stable nor completely chaotic, but something in between. Reality zones had emerged organically, each with its own consensus rules. The traditional quarters maintained physics as they had always been, a refuge for those uncomfortable with change. The flux districts embraced constant transformation, buildings and streets reshaping themselves according to the collective desires of residents. The harmony zones struck a balance, allowing limited reality manipulation within agreed parameters. Nova's neural implant pinged with a message from Marcus. "We've done it," his excited voice came through. "Phantom and I completed the algorithm. The stabilization protocols are ready for distribution." "Are you sure we should?" Nova asked. "People seem to be adapting well to the new paradigm." "These aren't controls," Marcus clarified. "Just safeguards against catastrophic reality collapse. They'll prevent cascading quantum effects from spreading beyond consent boundaries." Nova considered this. "Distribute it through Echo's network. Optional implementation only." "Already arranged," he replied. "How are things in your sector?" Nova looked down at the street below, where a group of children played with reality bubbles, small spheres in which they could temporarily alter physical laws. An elderly woman sat nearby, her surroundings stubbornly traditional, while she watched the children with a mixture of concern and wonder. "People are learning to live with ambiguity," Nova said. "It's not perfect, but it's authentic." After ending the call, Nova made her way down to the street. The city felt alive in a way it never had under Arcanum's control. Unpredictable, sometimes troubling, but vibrantly real. A public news display showed footage from around the world. Some regions had embraced the reality shader fully, transforming into bizarre landscapes that defied description. Others had rejected it entirely, establishing reality sanctuaries where traditional physics was strictly enforced. Most, like New Shanghai, had found middle paths. The Arcanum conglomerate still existed, but in drastically reduced form. With reality itself now open source, their monopoly on quantum technology had evaporated. Conrad Havel had disappeared during the initial chaos, though rumors persisted that he had uploaded his consciousness into a private reality pocket somewhere in the hypernet. Nova's journey took her to a small park that hadn't existed before the liberation, a spontaneous creation of local residents. Here, trees grew in impossible spirals, and small animals shifted between different evolutionary forms as they moved about. She found Lin Echo Truong sitting on a bench, documenting the new reality phenomena. The journalist looked up as Nova approached. "The woman of the hour," Echo said with a smile. "Or should I say, the woman who changed all hours forever." Nova sat beside her. "How's the new world treating you?" "Fascinating from a journalistic perspective," Echo replied. "Reality has become subjective, yet collective, a paradox worth a lifetime of study." "And the downside?" Echo's expression turned serious. "There are issues, reality conflicts where zones overlap, psychological strain for those who can't adapt. Some communities have fractured completely, each individual retreating into private realities." Nova nodded. She had seen similar problems emerging throughout the city. "Freedom isn't easy. But the alternative was worse," Echo said firmly. "Arcanum was developing mind control applications for Reality Shader. We've confirmed it through leaked documents. They were testing techniques to reshape memory and desire without subject's awareness. Sometimes I wonder if we should have destroyed the algorithm completely, Nova admitted. Started fresh without it. Too late for that, Echo replied. And besides, this way we all share responsibility for what happens next. No more blaming corporations or governments. We're all reality architects now. A soft alert sounded from Echo's neural implant. Speaking of which, Marcus's stabilization protocols are being distributed now. Early adoption looks promising. Nova watched as a notification appeared in her own field of vision, an update available for her reality shader implementation. She accepted it, feeling a subtle shift as the new parameters took effect. What will you do now? Echo asked after a moment. Nova had been asking herself the same question. With Project Nexus liberated and reality itself transformed, her mission was technically complete, yet something felt unfinished. There are still questions to answer, she said finally. What happens when reality becomes fully fluid? Are there deeper levels of quantum manipulation we haven't discovered yet? And what about the people who are struggling with the new paradigm? Sounds like you're planning to stay involved. Nova nodded. Someone needs to help guide this transition, not by controlling it, but by understanding it. Marcus is establishing a research collective to study the long-term effects of quantum reality manipulation. I'm thinking of joining him. Noble goals, Echo commented. Though I suspect Phantom might have other ideas. Last I heard, they were exploring the possibility of quantum reality pockets, personal universes disconnected from consensus reality. That could be dangerous, Nova frowned. Complete isolation from shared reality might lead to psychological fracturing. Or it might be the next step in human evolution, Echo countered. Who's to say anymore? As they spoke, a ripple passed through the park, a small reality fluctuation. Flowers briefly changed color, then returned to normal. Such occurrences had become commonplace, barely noticed by most residents. Freedom of voice sometimes comes at the cost of chaos, Nova murmured, echoing her thoughts from the night of the liberation. Yes, Echo agreed, but at least it's our chaos. In the months and years that followed, Nova dedicated herself to understanding and guiding the new quantum reality paradigm. The Marcus Yo Institute for Quantum Consciousness became a center for research into the relationship between mind, matter, and reality itself. Phantom's exploration of disconnected reality pockets led to breakthroughs in quantum psychology and consciousness transfer. Harlan established security protocols for reality zone boundaries, preventing unwanted incursions while allowing free movement between consensual spaces. The world neither collapsed into chaos nor returned to rigid control. Instead, humanity adapted as it always had, finding new ways to exist within changed circumstances. Some longed for the simplicity of the past, when reality was fixed and certain. Others embraced the fluid nature of quantum existence, constantly reinventing themselves and their surroundings. For Nova, the question remained, had they done the right thing? There was no simple answer. Freedom had come at a cost. Stability exchanged for possibility, certainty for choice. But watching a child create a miniature galaxy in the palm of their hand, stars swirling in patterns that reflected pure imagination, she couldn't bring herself to regret the choice they had made. Reality itself had been democratized. What happened next would be up to everyone. In her quiet moments, Nova sometimes reflected on Conrad Havel's words. Reality itself belongs to those with the vision to shape it. He hadn't been entirely wrong. Only his definition of those had been too narrow. Reality belonged not to corporations or governments or even skilled engineers like herself. It belonged to everyone in all their messy, contradictory, creative glory. And if that meant living with uncertainty and occasional chaos, so be it. The freedom to choose one's reality was worth the price. As New Shanghai shimmered with possibility around her, Nova lifted her hand and made a small adjustment to her local quantum field, creating a glowing butterfly that fluttered from her fingertips and dissolved into particles of light. A small change, but it was hers to make, as it was for everyone now. The quantum heist was complete. Reality itself had been stolen, not by her, not by Arcanum, but by humanity as a whole. And whatever happened next would be the greatest story ever told.